What should you do if you need to, or maybe you want to, take advantage of buying or maybe building a home right now? Maybe because you know there's great incentives, you want to take advantage of a good price, or maybe you have timing, you need to be here for a job or get kids in school or whatever, but you need to sell your current home before you can buy your next one. Well, today we're talking about the options that you might have to make your goal a reality. Stick around. So you want to buy, but you also need to sell your current home first. And that, my friends, well, we call that the real estate juggling act, because the logistics of doing those two things simultaneously, well, it's risky. You need to have a really great strategy, and it can be extremely stressful due to many unknowns. But don't worry, there are strategies to make this process run more smoothly, and I'm going to break it down into several options if you're this kind of buyer. And these are in no order of importance, but I am going to share my opinion on which options I recommend most, of course, and the ones that have worked best with the many buyers I've advised in the past 28 years of being in real estate. Option number one, consider getting a bridge loan, and I call this one the financial tightrope. This is actually one of the most common solutions, and I have several buyers right now from other states that are using bridge loans to buy their new home here in Florida. And a bridge loan is a short-term loan that gives you the funds that you need to purchase your new home before you sell your current one. It's like a financial bridge, hence the name, between the two transactions. The key here is making sure that you qualify for the loan and you can handle the payments on both properties, of course, only temporarily. So it's not for everyone. It's usually for buyers that have really solid credit and a good amount of equity in their current home. And if that's the case, it can really be a lifesaver. And if you want to know more about the pros and the cons of using a bridge loan, then make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel where I make other videos and I actually describe the pros and the cons of a bridge loan. And I talk about these options and break it down for you in more depth. Because there, of course, are some costs involved.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, so option number two is a home sale contingency, and I call this one the safety net. So this is where the buyer makes an offer on their new home that, of course, is contingent on selling their current home. It is a great option because it does protect the buyer from being stuck owning two homes. But there's always a but, right? Here's the catch. In a competitive market, sellers are not going to love having a contingency because it adds uncertainty to them, because you're asking them to basically take their home off the market while you try and sell your home.
How about new?
I can tell you right now, builders, especially in Manatee and Sarasota County, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Charlotte, all these counties around here, they're not very flexible and they don't like contingency offers because it ties up their product. I have had one buyer in the past 12 months that was successful with Homes by West Bay, where they were willing to do a contingency for my buyers to sell their home in another state. Now, there were some strict terms on this contingency. They only gave them 30 days and they had to take and put 2 deposits on the house. So it worked out for my people because they were able to get their home under contract in that time span in the other state. But I will tell you, if you're in a market that is slower, like Florida, that might not be the best choice for you. So builders are very hesitant to do it. Now, the reason Homes by West Bay in this particular community, this was up in the Riverview, Lithia area, the reason they were willing to do that is because they were finishing out of one of their communities and they were moving on to another community. So they had an inventory home that they wanted to get off their books. So maybe there's some flexibility there. It's not going to happen all the time. Sometimes they know they can sell those things. So maybe that won't work. Now with resale sellers, again, it's very uncommon right now, even in our markets where here in Manatee and Sarasota County, we do have more inventory and things are taking a little bit longer. I think we're at like 46 days. That's not a long time, people. It's kind of normal. It's actually a pretty good hot market, but we do have more inventory. So we're almost to 5 months worth of inventory in both Sarasota and Manatee County. And so even though we have more inventory, sellers are still very unlikely to accept a contingent to sell. Now, they might take a contingent to close. Maybe your home is already under contract and you're past the inspection period, because that's a big hurdle. And maybe you're just waiting on your home to close. Now, they might be a little more flexible with that and accepting of that. But boy, if they're going to wait for you to sell your home in another market where they don't really know your market, then they're going to be less flexible about giving you a contingent to sell because, again, they're taking their home off the market. So, again, that's going to not work in a lot of these markets. I know here in Florida, it's very unlikely. I'm not saying it doesn't ever work. Don't say it. Didn't say that. I'm just saying it's less likely to work here in Florida. So you cannot get your panties in a wad if there is a seller here who is not flexible and does not want your contingent to sell contract. Option number 3, a HELOC or cash out refinance. And I call this the unlocking equity option. Now, this option is for those of you who have significant equity in your current home, and you can tap into that equity with a home equity line of credit, which is what we call a HELOC, or a cash out refinance. This gives you the funds that you need for a down payment on your new home. And it works especially well for building a home that's going to take, several months to be completed. Of course, while you're still in the process of selling your current home. Just make sure that you understand the risks and the costs involved with doing a HELOC to use that money for a new purchase. So let me give you an example, because I've done it myself. So back in 2002, we were a blended family coming together, his kids, my kids, and we needed more space. And so we were going to have a home built. We were living in Colorado Springs at the time, and we're going to build just a little north of there in Monument, right near the Air Force Academy. As a matter of fact, the Air Force Academy was our backyard. We could see it, pretty front range mountain views. I don't miss it though, people. Don't miss it. But I did like it at the time. But at that point, we were having a home built, but we didn't have anywhere to live. So we couldn't sell our home first because we had nowhere to live. So it made sense for us then to go ahead and get a home. We picked out a lot, and we picked out a builder, and we were having a home built. And so the timing had to be a certain way too, because the kids were in school and we were both working and that sort of thing. So what we decided to do was go ahead and start the new construction, get our house in the process of being built. And then within a few months of that home being ready for us to close and move in, we would go ahead, put our house on the market, and then go to the bank. And it was my house at the time. And so I went to the bank and I was able to take a HELOC out so that we could close on the new house and put the money down that we needed on the new house. And then within a month or so of closing on the new house, we were able to close and sell my current home that I was living in, and pay off that, equity line of credit and that sort of thing. So for us at the time, it worked well, but I will tell you that paying those payments simultaneously and knowing that there's always a risk involved with selling your home. Anything can fall through, even in the best case scenario. Now, I was a real estate agent, right? So I knew the risks involved, but it did work for us. It was very stressful, to say the least, to know that we had 2 houses that we were taking care of for a few months. But other than that, it did work really well. So reach out to your banker, your lender, wherever you are in this country. If you need to know some that are around here, certainly have some great people that you can reach out to talk about maybe doing the HELOC on your current home if you need to maybe go ahead and start and purchase something here in Florida or wherever you are, wherever you live, and you want to buy something close to you. Option number 4, sell first, then buy. I call this the clean break, and honey, this is my favorite option. Of course, this is the most straightforward option, right? You sell your current home, you move into temporary housing, or maybe you have somebody you can stay with, and then you buy your new home. I know that it's not the most convenient, right? Because you got to find a place to live if you sell soon, but it does really eliminate the risk of carrying 2 mortgages, and it gives you a clear financial picture for your next purchase. Now, I just shared with you that on the house we bought in Monument, Colorado, when we were buying it, that I went to the bank and did a HELOC so that we could, have the home built, move into it, and then, close on the existing home, and how that all worked. But I told you it was really stressful because you always have debt, right? You have this debt hanging over your head, and I do not like debt. I don't like debt hanging over my head, talking to me, looking at me, staring at me. I just don't like debt. I'm not a person that likes debt. I stay away from it as much as possible. So when we decided to leave Colorado and move to Florida, we took a different approach, and we used my favorite option, which is the one we're talking about now. We decided to sell our home first, get it under contract, and then we would kind of make a plan as we went along when we were moving to Florida. So that's what we did. We put our home in the market in Monument, Colorado, about the month of March. It went under contract pretty quickly, which we were really happy about. It was a great offer. We were really happy about it. And so what we had to do was, once we were in that process of being under contract and they were having their inspections and that sort of thing, we decided we would shop around for a place to live temporarily in Colorado, because we weren't ready to come to Florida quite yet. And we only had one of our kids with us. One of them had already come to Florida and was living with my parents. My parents moved to the Parrish area about 1.5 years before we did, from Colorado. And so we knew we only had one of our boys with us. The rest had, were in college and grown and gone and that sort of thing. So we found a temporary apartment. Yes, it was not convenient. We signed a 2-month lease because that's how much time we still needed in Colorado. I had a lot of business still that I needed to close up there in real estate. And of course, I actually kind of flew back and forth for the first year while we were in Florida so I could close up my business that I still had and ongoing closings and that sort of thing there. So we got an apartment for 2 months. It was an expensive 2-month lease, but it worked for us. And of course, when they put us on the 3rd floor. We had to hike all that crap up to the 3rd floor and hike it all down when we were moving. But when we finally got moved out of that apartment and on our way here, now we had the luxury of living with my parents while we were having a home built here in Parrish. So that doesn't happen for a lot of you. I get it. So that can be stressful, but I'm here, or wherever you live, you have your agent there. That's part of them helping you find something that you can live in temporarily. So for us, we lived with our parents after we found the lot and the house that we wanted, the builder, and they were building our home. But I got to tell you, it was such a relief not having that debt hang over us, like when we had the HELOC before, and we knew that our money was sitting in the bank. And when it came time to close, our house was done, we knew that we could just pay that, close on that house, put that money down, etc. And it just brought so much relief. So I know that it's hard to do it. It doesn't work for everyone, but I can tell you that that is really the safest way, and it really does give you peace of mind. So if you're able to do that wherever you live and you're moving to another state, or maybe you're coming down here to our areas, I can help you find something for a little bit. But I think that that's probably the most convenient and the most stress relief that you're going to have in a process of buying a home, when you know that your funds are secure and you have nothing to sell. And you're in a much better place because you have no contingencies on your contract with your new home, whether it's being built or if it's a resale. Option number 5, the rent back agreement. Now, this kind of goes along with number 4, and I call this the temporary solution. So if you are a buyer, and you sell your current home like we did, and we were telling you about that house in Monument, then maybe you can negotiate a rent back agreement with the person that's buying your home. This is going to allow you to maybe stay in your property for a set period after the closing, and it gives you time to find and close on your new home. It's like having a little breathing room before and between transactions.
You won.
I did?
You got everything you wanted.
Now, I don't want you to be surprised if what you pay in rent to your buyer is higher than what you paid in your mortgage. Because with a rent back, remember, they're not going to rent back to you if you're paying less than what their new mortgage is when they bought your house. And rents are always going to go with whatever is standard in the market. And of course, you know right now, rents are crazy across the country, even though we have seen them edge down a little bit across the country, but rents are really high right now. So if you do a rent back agreement with the buyer of your home and you're going to rent from them, they're going to become your new landlords for a little bit, then you will most likely be paying an amount that is standard for the neighborhood where your house is, and you'll be paying something that is equal or maybe a little more than their current mortgages on that house. Now, for us in Monument, we didn't do a rent back because it wasn't going to work for us. As a matter of fact, the people that were buying our house in Monument, Colorado, he was going to be one of the new football coaches at the Air Force Academy. So he had a schedule and they needed to get in there and all that sort of thing. So it didn't work for us to do a rent back. And you really got to be careful when you do a rent back. It is really not something that I'm comfortable with as a real estate agent professional. You do you, and it certainly, I've had to work on these leases before. I'm not saying I've never done them. I'm just not really comfortable with them for a few reasons. I never want to see you taken advantage of, and let's just say that the person that bought your house and now they're your landlord, you're going to rent from them. What if they came back and said, oh, well, this used to work when you sold it to us and now this doesn't work, and this used to look nice and now it's messed up. So there's just it's a really great area. So I just really, really caution you. Make sure you feel good about the lease agreement that you have, that things are very, very well written out and what's going to happen if something does get damaged that you are responsible for, or that you don't get accused of something that you didn't do. You know what I'm saying? So be careful.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Option number 6, maybe you should explore iBuyer options. I call this the quick and easy sale option. So for buyers who need to sell quickly, working with an iBuyer platform can be an option. Now, these are companies that offer, as you know, cash for homes. It allows the seller to close quickly and move on to their next purchase. But, and this is a big but, and I can't deny, they'll likely net less than they would if they put their home on the open market with a real estate company, a real estate agent. So it is a trade-off between the speed of selling and, of course, profit. Now, again, I've had a few buyers. As a matter of fact, I had some really great buyers from Colorado. I meet a lot of you guys from Colorado because I used to live there. And they were coming from Castle Rock. And for them, using an iBuyer platform, there's several of them. I'm not going to mention them. You guys can research. You know, they come in and they buy your house for cash and blah, blah, blah. They did use one of those because it was just easier for them. They weren't worried about making less, netting less on their home. They knew they were going to net less, but it worked out for them. And then we were able to close on their new home here in Parrish. So it does work for some people. And I just want you to be aware of it, though. That when you look into all of them, make sure you know the fees. There's a lot of fees involved, the pros and the cons of those. So make sure you check into that before you use the iBuyer option. So here's the thing, right? Every buyer situation is unique. So the best option for you depends on your financial situation, your market conditions, wherever you live, and of course, your personal preferences. And let's not forget your peace of mind. What's going to help you sleep at night, right? So choose wisely. My job and the job of your agent, wherever it is that you live, is to guide you through these options, and there might be other options that we can discuss as well. These are the most common. And of course, we want to help you weigh the pros and cons and create a plan that works for your specific needs. I talk about this with many of you on a weekly basis, right? What's the best option? Because you're trying to come down here, especially right now in Florida. Prices have been coming down. We have more inventory. Buyers have more to choose from. Builders are offering some crazy incentives to get inventory homes off their books. There's crazy incentives now for home buyers that want to start a new construction project. They're building. I can tell you right now, I know a builder that's offering a free pool. A free pool. As a matter of fact, when we built our house right up in here in Parrish, Florida, that was one of the perks. We got a free pool. We love our pool. Pools ain't cheap either. Well, they were cheaper 10 years ago. I can tell you that right now, but they ain't cheap. I know another builder right now that's offering, if you start from scratch, $100,000 at the design center. Yeah, you're probably going to use that. You're going to need that at the design center because everything's an upgrade. You know what I'm saying? You want toilets? You got an upgrade. No, I'm just joking. You do get a toilet, but maybe not the best toilet. But anywho, I digress. I'm just letting you know that a lot of you are talking to me about, hey, we want to take advantage of coming down there now and buying a home. We don't want to retire right away, but we'd like to have a house, take advantage of the prices now because you guys are so smart. You see that even though the prices are edging down, they continue to appreciate, not the way they were during COVID, obviously, but they do appreciate here. So for those of you that want to take advantage of prices now, maybe some of those options are really good for you to think about. Maybe getting your home there. What are you going to do with it if you want to buy something here? So we can discuss that, but make sure if you want to know more about these areas, you want to know more about what the builders are offering, if you want to know more about what the market is like in my counties here on the Gulf Coast of Florida, then you got to subscribe. Yeah, you do. So that I can keep you updated on all of those things real estate related. And of course, just to let you know about the great communities here, whether it's Parrish or Palmetto or Lakewood Ranch or Sarasota or Bradenton. There's just so many great areas that you can consider for your next new home. If you're looking for something down here, I'd love to chat with you. Give me a call. We can chat about what your journey is and maybe what your options are, what makes most sense for you. And if you live in another state and you're looking for a trusted advisor, remember, I've got a network of really great agents that can also be a trusted advisor to you and help you get to your next new level. I'm Catherine Newman. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I look forward to seeing you next week. See you then.